Welcome to the Rapport Advantage podcast, transforming the way leaders communicate. Here's your host, Alex Swire-Clark.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Hey there, Alex. How are you? It's Liz here.
I'm fine. I went a little vibrato there on that one. That was, not my normal opening. That was more operatic, or something like that. Anywho, welcome to the Rapport Advantage podcast. Thank you, Johnny, for the intro there. We are here to help you break down the walls of communication, increase your emotional intelligence, and build better relationships. I am Alex Swire-Clark, CEO, speaker, and certified human behavior expert.
And I am Liz Parker. I'm a certified behavioral analyst, strategic growth consultant, and I do a lot of job benchmarking.
Job benchmarking is so huge these days with the emotional intelligence applications we have to be able to put folks in the niche of where they fit best within your organization and let them feed off of what they love to do.
Yes.
It's awesome. And we're going down that road later. We've got a whole show dedicated to that, and so Liz is going to be happy, excited to talk to you about it.
Yes, I will.
This show is all about you, so give us your input and feedback. Find us on Facebook at The Rapport Advantage, on Twitter at Rapport Podcast, or visit the website at rapportadvantage.com. You can also leave a digital message through our SpeakPipe app. If you've never heard of SpeakPipe, it's really, really cool. Just go over to our website. On the right-hand side, you'll see something that says leave a voicemail for Alex. And you just click on the button, and you automatically can just start recording a voice message without picking up a phone or giving away any kind of, your personal information. You just click on a button, hit record, and then it comes straight to me through an email. And that's how we will be taking your questions for the show. So if you have any of those, please let us know.
That is so cool.
We are excited to get them, and the SpeakPipe app is free up to a point. So if you want to use it on your own website to gather information from clients, prospects, and so forth, it's a great tool. Today, we will be discussing the high S's, or the supportive personality style. We have covered the basics of the four main styles in episode 2. So if you're just joining us, I guess this is episode number 5. If you're joining us just now, please head on back to episode 2 if you need a disc refresher for those basics of the high D dominant style, the I influencing style. We're covering the S supportive style today, and the high C are the conscientious, cautious, contemplative style. Those high Cs, we're coming to you on a podcast near you. Actually, it's the next one. So we've covered those styles. For the S's and the other 3 styles, we will describe the characteristics of each. We will go back and talk about words that would describe them, and all the words for our S types will start with the letter S, just like our I's started with the letter I. So we're going to keep that trend going, try to be chipper and keep that pattern. Ultimately, we want to, in these podcasts, teach you how to understand yourself first, then understand others, so that, thirdly, we can adapt our communication style to meet them where they are, become better listeners, become better communicators to them so that their ideas can be heard, and so we can communicate effectively to them, because that is the key to effective communication, speaking that same language. Our disc thought of the day, Miss Liz Parker, we try to do one of these early on in every episode to give a little bit of different flavor about how you can use disc to practically apply the concepts within your organization, within your home life, personal life, and so forth.
Yes, I found one that I actually like quite a lot. It's all about the most effective way to gain the commitment and cooperation of others is to get into their world, blend with their behavioral style or their personality style. So it's being able to figure out how to think like they think. Like we talk about getting in somebody's shoes, the customer's shoes. Well, it's about getting into their thought patterns, their behavioral style, figuring out how to blend with them.
So let's walk through one of those, Liz, if we could.
Sure.
You and I are both high I's.
Yes.
So we're, shiny object syndrome we have every once in a while. Let's say that we're trying to get into the world of a high D, a dominant style. How would we go about doing that?
Well, one of the first things that I do is I would cut the talking that I do. I would speak more directly. I would have eye contact, and I'd be more brief. I's tend to go on, and D's like to have the conciseness, the directness, and get right down to business.
Fish for cut bait with those guys.
Yep, exactly.
So be direct, be to the point, get in, get out, handle your business, and as we've said in numerous podcasts, land your plane. They're ready to get in and get out.
And they will socialize. You just got to let them lead it. Don't you start it.
That's right. Talk about what they want to talk about.
Yes.
Excellent. All right, our main show topics for the day. Again, a quick refresher for our high S style, our supportive style. S's are reserved and people-oriented. Your bingo club vice president is probably this type. Don't want to be out in front of everyone, but certainly always willing to help with whatever the tasks are that need to be completed to make that president or the person that's out in front, make them shine. These are people like Andy Griffith and Mother Teresa. We have a few quotes from Mother Teresa today to share. And Liz, if you want to handle that first one.
I'll do my best to embody her, but she says, let no one ever come to you without leaving happier, which I think is a fabulous thought.
Absolutely. Make someone's day is part of the fish philosophy that we use in our company, our corporation, in terms of trying to make the world a better place, one person or one encounter at a time. She also said, spread love everywhere you go.
That's right.
Which is just a wonderful thought. And if we as a society, as a nation, as a world, took that in and made that the focal point of every day, how much better would this world be? It would be exciting to talk about, how we've cured this disease or ended poverty or whatever it happens to be. It would be very exciting.
Yeah, very, very exciting. So, yep, I love those.
Show the love, spread the love. All right, very good. Our 6 S words for the day we'll get into. We've got some stories to share about all of these. Remembering that I am a high I-S blend, so I've got a ton of S in me. It's often overshadowed by my I, which is the crazy, wacky, funny person that I like to be sometimes.
And I am hoping that what you'll do is you'll share a lot of those stories, Alex, because you do hold a lot of this.
Yes. I'm that guy. So let's dive in. Our first word is supportive. Supportive folks make great sacrifices, don't want the limelight usually. And so for me, as a high I and S blend, my I being the most dominant of that, I tend to seek the limelight. So I've got a little bit of both of this. I tend to make great sacrifices helping others, but I also do it in a public way.
They are very good team players. What I find is when I'm working with an S, they are the ones that are right there to be supportive, to do whatever the team needs. They will take the bulk of the work if they have to, just to show that they're part of that process.
In my board gaming group, I'm generally the healer. I play a healer character, typically a cleric or someone who's I don't have to fight anybody, but you're taking damage. I got you, man. I got you. Woo! And I build their points back up. So that's typically my role. I know that as a supportive person, when I get those surveys from Panera or Burger King or KFC that says, "Hey, take the survey on the back and have a chance to win $100." I don't necessarily need to win the $100. Of course, I'd love to, but I don't need to win the $100 as much as if I had a good experience with Sally or Dan or whomever it was at the drive-thru. I'm going to be apt to fill out that survey because I want them to be recognized for doing well. I do actually.
Oh, wow. I didn't know people really did those.
I actually do. And so I guess they wouldn't keep asking them to do it if people weren't doing them. So
very good point.
So that's me. I'm all about just helping somebody out. If I had a great experience, their manager needs to know about it. Their supervisor needs to know about it because they are exemplifying what that company wants, in their other employees.
That's very cool.
Our second word is steady. Steady. These folks are the glue of every organization. S's will come together. They make things happen, but they do it in subtle ways. They are worker all the time, and you're never going to have any drama from those folks. Now, they're not necessarily typically the fastest at completing tasks like a D might be, but they will get them done, and they will take their time, and they will put their heart and soul into those.
I think of them as being loyal. That's another word I like to use. The steadiness, the loyalty that they have, they stay right there. You can count on them to show up whenever you need them. My husband's a high S, and man, oh man, loyal to the bone. You look at the friendships that he has, the things that go along that line, you can see where that steadiness and that long-termness comes in.
And the great part about having a relationship with a high S is that steadiness comes out. They're never really too high or too low. Unlike an I, like myself, when I'm on an emotional roller coaster, I'm either, hey, what's up, people? Yeah! Or I'm down in the dumpsters. It's just been a bad, bad day, folks. The S is just steady. I mean, it's like, hey, how's it going? Great, thanks. And you're just going, how's it going? Great, thanks. Day number 187. How's it going? Great, thanks. They're always just that steady Eddie, typically positive, but not overly positive. Like they're just, jumping up and down and throwing balloons at you and things like that. So
steady Eddie, that's a great thing to remember.
Steady Eddie. Our third word for the high S's is the word sincere. They care very, very deeply about lots of different things. Their family is something that's extremely important to an S. We'll get into some of the things that they don't like a little bit later, and one of those things is conflict. But if you say or do something to their family, they will come at you like a banshee. They will come after you hard. It's like Liz said just a minute ago. They are fiercely loyal to friends and family, and they care deeply about the issues that they're passionate about. And again, they're not necessarily vocal. You're not going to see them necessarily speaking a lot, let's say on a Facebook or a Twitter about a specific topic or thing that they're concerned about. But man, will they support it with all their heart and soul on the groundwork, working for those organizations, volunteering, donating, and that kind of thing.
I was going to say, I have a minister friend of mine who is a high S, and just unbelievable from a friendship standpoint, but just so genuine. That sincerity comes through in just the way she speaks to people, and the eye contact, the whole body, even the nonverbals are very, very sincere. They are.
And again, that whole caring deeply theme kind of goes back to where you're from and your personal experiences and that kind of thing in terms of what you care deeply about. Sometimes it makes sense to people, and sometimes you have your own causes that you care deeply about. I was in, I guess, a junior in high school back in the day, lived in a small town, and I'm driving back from my friend Mike's house in my 1984 Pontiac Fiero, the little tiny two-seater fire trap, never worked right, always in the repair shop. But it was cool when I was driving it. Anyway, it was mid-afternoon, and I'm coming down Leak Avenue, which has these huge oak trees on either side. And I'm passing my cousin Mac's house when a squirrel jumped out into the road. And, of course, I'm like, no! And I hit the brakes. I locked my hands on the steering wheel, and then bump. Oh, no. No.
Did you hit him?
Oh, no. I ran over the little squirrel.
Oh, no.
I ran over the squirrel. So, of course, at that time, I was very passionate about animals. I was thinking about becoming a veterinarian. So I throw my blinkers on in the middle of the road and just say, y'all going to have to stop. I don't care who's coming down the road.
Oh,
I'm potentially blocking traffic there. And I got down next to the squirrel, and he's just very, very still on the asphalt. It's, it's the middle of the summer, so it's pretty hot. Of course, being that high S that I am, I did the only thing I knew to do. I was going to save that squirrel. I was going to save the squirrel. That's assuming he wasn't dead already. I didn't know, but I was going to save that squirrel. Now, I knew I shouldn't pick him up because, according to my mom, squirrels carried rabies and malaria and the plague and all these other bad diseases, like most rodents do. So I channeled my inner Boy Scout. I got out my car windshield sun visor, and I proceeded outside, and I scooped him up with the sun visor.
Did you really?
Yes, I did. I scooped him up, and then, and of course, it wasn't very easy because the sunshade's not meant to scoop up animals. It's meant to keep sun out of your car. So I'm doing this 10-paneled sunshade thing, and I somehow managed to get the door open, and I set him in the shade gently down on the floorboard. And I turned off the flashers, did a quick UE, and I headed straight to the vet clinic where my good friend and golfing buddy, Dr. Ernest Forbes, worked. And
you did?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, he and I played golf all the time. He was very established in the community and just a super, super guy. And so I'm heading down the road, and about 2/3 of the way there, I hear this rustling noise on the floor. And I take a little gander down there on the floor to see what's going on. And he had his eyes open. I was like, all right, okay. And of course, as soon as I saw that moment, I went full Batman Dark Knight mode. I'm like, hang in there, squirrel! Hang in there! Don't you give up on me! And so,
aren't you worried about the rabies at this point?
Well, yeah, but he's still on the floor, so he's not trying to bite me yet. So by the time I arrived at the animal clinic, little Sammy, as I named him quickly, was fully alert. So I hopped out of the car and ran inside to tell Doc Forrest what had happened. And he was finishing up a surgery and told me he'd be right out. He looked at his assistant, John, big fella, and said, John, grab your gloves and bring him on in. Well, John came outside to the car and took a peek inside the passenger window. Sammy had managed to get himself off his back and was kind of crumpled up, but on his side. John put his gloves on and said to me, wait right here. Which I did. He opened the driver door and slowly sit himself into the driver's seat. And he's a big guy, so he's trying to squish this little tiny sports car. And it was pretty funny. He slammed the door with a thud, and then Sammy sat right up. I mean, like instantaneously. He was like, up and alert. Now, John and I were pretty surprised by that. And John, being a gentle giant, gently reached over to pick Sammy up from the floor. And then Sammy leaped in the air and onto the passenger seat. And from there, he leaped onto John.
No way!
So the next thing was kind of a blur, but John's face turned from compassion to fear. Sammy jumped on his arm and then back to the seat and then back onto John's head. And John started screaming, hey, come here, you, come here. And my little car started rocking back and forth as John grabbed him and missed, and Sammy's bouncing around the car like a pinball in a pinball machine. It was crazy. So after what seemed like about 5 minutes of that, John finally was able to corral that little guy, and Sammy fought a bit and tried to bite John through the gloves, but John had him and got him inside. And he's,
what did you need to take him in for? He sounded healthy.
Well, but I didn't know. I mean, I didn't know if he had a broken leg or if he had broken ribs. I mean, that was a huge thump when I ran over him. Doc took a look at him and kind of, while John was holding him, and he kind of poked and prodded a little bit. He said, looks good to me. We'll give him a shot of penicillin just in case. And, of course, Sammy didn't like that needle going to his backside very much. He's just sitting there screaming. And I asked Doc, so what do we do now? He said, we let him go. So we opened up the back door to the clinic, and John carefully put Sammy down on the ground. And Sammy jumped out of John's hand and scampered across the yard, and he found a little tree. Shoop, up he went. And Doc said to me, you sure went through a lot of trouble for one little squirrel. And I said, Doc, Sammy was worth it.
Oh, my gosh. What word were we talking about that had to do with this?
We were talking about sincerity and how we care deeply about things. And so I was not going to let little Sammy pass away on me. But
I forgot the word, but the story is fabulous.
Yes, so we are sincere and passionate, like you said, loyal to the causes and the people that we care about the most. And
maybe that next word too.
Yes. And so our next word being number 4, sentimental. And I'm about as sentimental as it gets. Yes. I was that junior high kid who was the shortest kid in school, which of course equaled 0 girlfriends. And that's when everybody's supposed to say, "Aw."
Aw.
Yes. Yeah, it was pretty depressing. I used to wallow in that misery by listening to cheesy 80s love songs before I went to bed, like Foreigner. I want to know what love is. Now as an adult, though, of course, I've grown taller. I've gotten beyond all that stuff. Yeah, no, I haven't.
Yeah, right.
I cried during the movie Tangled, people. I cried during Tangled. I mean, who does that? I mean, that's just not cool. I lost my man card. The guy at the theater took it when I walked out of the theater. Man card is no longer in my possession. But no, that was just a part of that movie that was about I was sitting by my oldest, and she's 15 now, and just thinking about her meeting some guy someday, and and going away because she's she's not my little baby anymore. So.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I don't even have a story for sentimental. That's how bad my life is there.
Well, but remember, she is 15 now, so there's always drama. So I've gone beyond the, caring, worried about her doing stuff. It's more about
What?
You did
What?
Okay, anyway. So moving on to number 5, status quo. High S's do not like to rock the boat. They like to keep things swimming along.
Man, oh man. Is this one of those where I can hit they don't like change along with rocking the boat?
You are absolutely 100%
because
spot on.
I find that I ran into a client who thought she was doing somebody a favor, and it was my chiropractor. I go into the office. She was talking about how there was just so much more efficiency that could happen with the change of the desk. And this poor woman looked at me like she moved my stuff. And she was absolutely horrified. And that was probably one of the best examples I always think of for S's. They need time to be able to change. They need to be prepared for it. And if you do that at the last minute, I used to move furniture around the house on my husband. Oh my gosh, it was like World War II if I did that. So change is a hard thing for them. They like the status quo.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it is kind of the high S's mantra. If you've been going to the same restaurant for 20 years, why change? I mean, the food's been good, and I kind of know what I'm going to eat every time, and service is nice. The nice lady, Sally over there, she always takes care of us, and so they're not very adventurous types. They are pretty much. I like the way it was. Even to this day, I prefer instant mashed potatoes over the real thing, because growing up, that's what I ate. Because we couldn't afford real potatoes and stuff, and the ones at school in the school lunch line were always instant. So that was just kind of what I was used to. So someone served me mashed potatoes, like, oh yeah, mashed potatoes, and I kind of started eating them like, what in the world? What? Oh, this is the worst potatoes I've ever had in my. Come on. And so, but they were actually real. They're chunky and had butter in them, and so anyway. So we have to expand our horizons as S's. We're not too good at that, though. However, watchword for our high S's. Things that you have to be watching out for, got to be careful of. S's, I can say we, because I am one. Sometimes we can be a sucker. The hardest word in the English language for us is the word
no.
Thank you. It is the word no. No, it's hard for us to say no to people. Hey, can you come over here to my house and help me move this furniture? Sure. I don't have anything else going on. Why not? Hey, you want to try this thing? Not really. Please. Okay, fine. It's very difficult for us to say no. If you're in HR, it's when you have those situations where people are coming to you for raises, and you're thinking to yourself, well, you're kind of, sort of, but I've been here for 6 years. Okay, well, I guess so. And then people get wind of that. Then they know to start coming to you for anything and everything, and you're just going to say yes to everything. So just be careful, S's.
That's a good point.
All right, the emotional response for S's when they come into conflict scenarios or whatever else.
I love these because what happens is they tend to withdraw. Some of the other ways that you can think about this is when they step back, what they're doing is they have an unemotional response in their face. However, in their heads, they're like spinning around. They're like the squirrels up there. They're just like thinking and thinking and thinking. They've thought every avenue. They've thought every direction, but their face is totally a poker face. They just kind of step back, and so their emotional response is a non-emotional response. If you can't read somebody, you're probably working with an S.
Yeah, they're full of emotion, but you just can't tell. That's they have that ultimate poker face. That's for sure.
Yep, have them in a poker game.
That's right. But don't put any pressure on them though, because then they're going to be slow to play.
Oh yeah,
analysis paralysis. All right, our likes for our high S's. Number one, they like to be accepted. They like to be part of that group. Doesn't matter if they are the head cheerleader in the back that nobody can see or hear. Then that's going to be good for them. And unfortunately for S's at a younger age, this can allow for peer pressure to set in quite easily. So if you are the parent of a high S, be aware of that they're looking for acceptance in their peer groups. They're looking for acceptance in wherever they happen to be, and sometimes they can do that again to a fault, to their own detriment. So be aware of that. But once they're a part of that group in a positive way or what have you, they are going to be outstanding contributors. They're going to get that Lifetime Achievement Award because they're constantly going to be producing good things and good work, pretty much 24/7.
Which leads right into the teamwork, because that is exactly how I think of them. Is they are all about teamwork and cooperation. They're the easiest people to work with. Most of the people that you think of, even in hospitals, I do a lot of work in the hospitals. A lot of them are S's because they like the routine work. They like to be able to connect with the patients. They're one-on-one with them. Doesn't mean they all are, but they are a lot of them that have those personal connections and really have that sincerity and care.
That's a great point too, Liz, is that you're talking about nurses in those one-on-one situations. They don't want to get out there and necessarily speak in front of a huge audience, but in a smaller group, in that one-to-one, their true passion for people and that, that people side of the equation really, really comes out. And that's why a lot of folks go into the healthcare profession, is because they want that one-on-one. They are people-oriented. They are a little more reserved, but they have to get their defenses up when they're in front of 12, 25 people. That becomes an eliminated factor when they are dealing with the one-on-one situation.
That's right.
They also, like number 3, S's like to stick with what works. We mentioned that briefly earlier. They don't like change. If the menu changes, oh my gosh, where's my burro de la Roqueta I had right here? It was like, it's gone. You give me some burro de California? I don't. What? No, that's a fail. I can't order now. Panic attack. You go, sweetie. And then I have to, S's would have to then totally change what they're going to try and have, and it just blows them out of the water.
And I think that's an important point to reemphasize, because change is a big issue. You've got to give them some time. You got to give them some heads up so they can be comfortable with it. And
the harder you push them, the slower they go. And that's one of those things that I think a lot of high Ds struggle with when they're working with S's. They typically say this, okay, I've got these 6 things. You got to go. Well, you're on number 3. I'll get it done before the end of the day. I got to have 6 like right now. It's like, wait, hold. That takes me to another one that we're not even into yet, I don't think. So let's wait on that. Gotcha. So speaking of dinner, which I mentioned a minute ago with my burro de la Roqueta, harmony is a huge thing for our S's. They love harmony. And when I talk about harmony, I'm talking about just being agreeable to things, more easily than some other personality types. So for example, in our house, I'm the high S. My wife is the high CD. So my first question, when I get home is, hey, sweetie, what would you like to have for dinner? And she says, what would you like? And my response is always, well, I don't care. And it's not that I don't care. It's just that I don't have a preference. And to speak even more deeply about that, as a high S, I try to epitomize the word happy wife, happy life in terms of what we do. So if she wants to go to Longhorn Steakhouse and she's got her heart set on that, I can find something to eat there. It's nothing going to be bad. I mean, Longhorn's a good restaurant. I mean, you got chicken, you got steak, you got whatever else. You got salmon and da-da-da. Versus if I was, always about me, I want to go to Taco Bell. Well, then it starts to become more frictional. So harmony for those S's is important, because S's tend to be pleasers, and we tend to be agreeable to more things in terms of, what we want comes sometimes second or third or fourth in the chain of what's important to those that are around us.
That's what does that kind of hit that not being able to say no? Does it impact that at all?
It can, but in my mind, it's not about the can't say no. It's more about the positive spin of that, which is trying to make people feel better about themselves, or trying to make people feel good in general.
Because of that harmony.
That's correct.
All right. Fair enough.
Well, number 5, for things to stay the same, that is another thing that our high S's love. And just a little tip for real estate agents out there. If you can identify an S as a home buyer, make sure to point out the positive features that are similar to their current house. And that's a way that you can help to sell them. And we've got a whole presentation that we do on how to close and use personality profiling in real estate. We've got a whole program on that. But that's just one of the teeny little nuggets, because S's, again, like things to stay the same. They just want minor changes. So, for example, if they're in the kitchen and you want to point out, the pantry is in, basically the same spot in the kitchen as your old house, but it's a little bit bigger, which is probably what they're looking for. So you want to point out those things that are similar so that they can say, okay, this isn't going to be dramatic change, because if it's dramatic change, okay, can't handle it. So they don't like that dramatic change.
I'm telling you, I got to just endorse that. As we were talking about this, that's why we bought the house we bought, was because the sunroom that we have at the back of the house is exactly the same as the one that we had in the last house. Never put that together, Alex, till we talked about this.
That's it's crazy. But we'll talk about motivators later on in the podcast. We're going to talk about why people choose to make the decisions that they do, and a lot of it is personality driven. It's not about this one's 800 square feet. This is blah 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 blah. It's that there's some similarity there. Or if you've got an high I, they're going to want to be more entertaining. They're going to probably want more of an open floor plan versus a closed-off floor plan. So, again, don't want to give too much away on that, but that's kind of where we go from there.
Perfect.
And number 6 on the likes is the word peace. They like to have peace in the house. They don't like to have conflict. My mom was very much an S, and she would always tell my brother and I when we ever gotten something, take it outside. Just take it outside. Because she wanted that peace and quiet, but she wanted that peace. And so we could sell it outside, shoot bottle rockets at each other, or hit each other with tennis rackets, whatever we did. And then once it was over, then it was done. Unfortunately for high S's, as you know, Liz, we've talked about this in the past, that sometimes those S's give peace at pretty much at all costs. So sacrificing their own selves with refusing to say no just to make sure that everybody around them is happy. So S's, stand up for yourselves. You're important too, and make sure that you give your opinion when it's asked for. Don't always have to offer it first, but when people ask you, make sure that you tell them what you think, because your input is important.
Yep, I think that's true. I got to just share. I got a girlfriend over in Hong Kong, and one of the ground rules she's made in her house is peace. That she wants the boys they're teenage boys. She's tired of them fighting. And I'm like, really? You just as well wait until they're out of the house, because you're never going to get peace when you got a couple of teenage boys.
That is absolutely true, because we just don't know how to get along. We are, God bless us, we put holes in the walls with our fist and launched bottle rockets off in the house by accident. My brother actually launched a model rocket off in his bedroom by accident one time. I don't know how that's even humanly possible, because then you have to clip the stuff up. Anyway. So
by accident.
Yes,
right?
By accident. So smoky house for a few weeks there. S's represent roughly 30 to 35% of the population. They are our largest group.
Yes.
And as we said in our D podcast, we thank God that there were only 10% of the D's. Do love y'all D's. We also thank God because of the 30 to 35% of S's. That makes up a great bit of the planet. People that are searching for peace, people looking to spread that love, spread that harmony around. So good for the S's, for sure.
Yes.
All right. So I'm leaving familiar grounds today as we wrap our show, because we're heading to Sealand in our next venture. I'd like to thank Liz Parker for joining us today. Liz, how can folks get in touch with you?
They can email me at liz@ltresults.com or visit my website at ltresults.com. And Alex, I just got to say, had a great time today hearing these stories, especially the one about the squirrel.
Well, I could have gone another way with that squirrel, but that would have been on a high I podcast, because that's my personality as a squirrel. Laundry. Oh, what? Who? What? So that tends to be my normal modus operandi. To get in touch with me, you can visit theRapportAdvantage.com. Our Facebook page is The Rapport Advantage. Follow the show on Twitter at Rapport Podcast. We're both on LinkedIn as well, so look for us there. If you have a chance, leave us an iTunes review and send us a question. We'll be happy to answer that on an upcoming podcast. We certainly appreciate you spending time with us today, whether that be in the car on the way to work, during your lunch breaks, snack break, coffee break. We certainly appreciate you tuning in. If you like what you're hearing so far, give us a shout. We'd love to hear from you. On our next episode, it's time to bring order to the chaos in our lives with the high C's.
Oh, boy. Look forward to talking about that.
Yes, there's going to be much pain and suffering on this side of the microphone. Well, worth it. For my broadcast partner in crime, Liz Parker, this is Alex Swire-Clark saying thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Rapport Advantage podcast. We'd love to hear from you. Join the conversation on Facebook at The Rapport Advantage and follow us on Twitter at Rapport Podcast.